Alright, our next adventure is to drag this mesh into the mix. So this thing, and if you want to make a backup copy it, you could do that. First I was going to make its own individual low-res mesh, and now I'm thinking that I don't want to do that, and I'm going to wing it and see if it'll turn up either via the normal map. Okay, so this will save a huge amount of polys. So in order for this to work, we have to position this in the mesh, but close up against the actual rock surface. So alright, so there we got that. I'm just going to go like this to it, and then I'm going to sculpt it. So I'm going to go into sculpt mode, and I'm going to use grab, and I'm just going to kind of move this around. This will move all as one piece. Should anyway. I just got to make the brush big enough. I'm going to push this right up against the rock surface and make it pop through every once in a while, just like that. Okay, then I'm going to go into object mode or component mode, and then I'm going to start trimming away some faces. I'm going to turn this feature off so I can translate all the way through the mesh, and X faces. Do that over here. X. Do that down here. X faces. And over here. X faces. Okay, now I'll just turn it back on and see what we got here. I like it. I like it a lot. I'm just going to adjust it just a skosh back. And maybe get rid of one more of these, just haphazardly. And now I'm just adjusting these so they go into the mesh. Still going to have to do it with a really big brush, however. Another thing you could do is see the fall off on this thing is set to here. If I set it to an absolute, just notice I can move stuff a lot better sometimes. Or you could try a different fall off ratio. That just does not want to get back there. So, some more trimming. This time I'm using the lasso tool by holding control down. And there we go. That's better. Okay, now hopefully this is up against the mesh enough to pass it into the actual mesh's normal rather than individual normals. So this thing will have a low-res item, but this thing will not have a low-res item. It'll be packed up against the rock. We'll just have to see. I've done worse in the past. So, all right, not bad. Very cool. Alright, well, now that we have all that, and we got 5 minutes left of this, so I'm going to turn on my screws here, and I'm going to steal something from the rebar here. I'm going to go in very tight here and go to edges. There we go. I want this thing right here. This is my low-res mesh for the rebar. I'm going to Shift D it and copy it, shrink it, and bring it over. Though it does need an end cap, and I am pretty lazy about that, so let's get rid of that. We'll make a custom mesh for this. That way I'm not trying to invent an end cap. Face, Control E, Control E, over here, mesh, multi-res, subdivide, apply. Okay, so now I have, this one does have an end cap. L, mesh, vertices separate by selection. Now it's its own separate object. An object, transform, origin to geometry. We'll plop it in the center. 7 on the number pad to get it into position so I can size it down. Some wireframe so I can see through it. Some R to shrink it. There we go. Now you should probably wait to duplicate it because of the simple fact that we have to do UVs on it. And I use a Control R here in edit mode to specify where it ends, because the end cap we can get rid of. So everything from here, X faces. Good job. Alright, next we need a low poly object for this thing at the top. Add mesh cube. This one's very simple. It's just going to be a simple box. This has to be the same size. Again, if you have any trouble, wireframes where it's at. This is a little bit high res mesh, so it might be easier not to do it. Okay, again, I just go into edit mode, do a Control R, set my end cap where I need it to be, raise it out of the goo. Go into faces, X faces. and then I can set it right back into place. So what essentially I'm doing here is making a low-res representation of all the objects except for the concrete. We'll do that in the next video. So I have a low representation for a screw, I have a low representation for this, and I have low representations of the rebar located here, here, and here. So now in the next video I got to sort out this whole entire hot mess and make a low res and high res model out of it. Alright, that's in the next bit.